Because when I see you holding the person's hand next to you, or I don't know, whatever y'all are doing, then I think you're not listening and it makes me upset. So listen.
We don't want you upset.
I cannot adequately quantify, express, or even truly consciously fathom all of the lessons I learned and qualities I attained as a result of my year in Amsterdam. What does it mean to travel? Why is it important enough for Rotary to grant so many scholarships worldwide to promote it? How does it feel to walk through a city that feels vaguely familiar, but fundamentally unfamiliar at the same time? It is absolutely thrilling in that there's a whole new world in which you've arrived with nothing but adventure and exploration ahead. And it's terrifying in the uncertainty of the newfound space around you. But above all, it is beautiful in its ability to transform the traveler by giving a new lens through which life can be perceived. As a 22-year-old recent college graduate, I moved to a new city, country, world, thinking that I already knew it all. Probably like some of you guys. I already had the answers to everything. I expected a year of playing, a sabbatical from real life. The things I valued most in this life were things that can be held. Tangible objects like my car, my computer, and my clothes. And my biggest concerns were trivial matters of what people thought about me and how I looked. But in a year abroad, when you're away from home, these things reveal themselves as exactly what they are. And that is exactly this: the least relevant elements of this life. In challenging yourself to discover a whole new world, your value system is turned upside down as moments, relationships, and love surface as the invaluable elements to be cherished. During my time in Amsterdam, there were obvious new practical skills I learned, like biking as a mode of transportation. I experienced new weather, like the unpredictable but regularly occurring Dutch rain, harsh winds, and a long and cold winter. I tried new foods and drinks, like this food called speculoos, which is a sweet paste, and it kind of comes in a jar. It looks like peanut butter, and it has the consistency of peanut butter, but there are bits of cookie inside, and it tastes kind of like a graham cracker. It tastes nothing like that. And this glühwein, which is a warm wine with spices that is sold in German Christmas markets, and it's used, basically people walk outside in the German Christmas markets and drink it to keep warm. And these things represent the glamorous elements of traveling. These are the fun pieces of a new culture which you've never even considered before. To greet each other, the Dutch kiss each other 3 times on each cheek. And they say cheers, which is in Dutch proost, before every meal or every time they have a drink together. They have a word in Dutch that doesn't quite translate to English. The word is gezellig, and it means to be in a very cozy situation with connotations of love and togetherness. And it's thrilling to be a part of these old traditions and a particular lifestyle which seem at the time brand new to the traveler. But it wasn't always easy, and I quickly realized that, to my surprise, I didn't know it all, and I didn't have the answers to everything. I was wrong about what I thought the experience would be, because I was expecting a sabbatical from real life, but that's not what it was. It was the experience of actually being in real life. There were some very defining moments that helped me to reveal myself to me, and it helped construct a newer and more sustainable value system and perception of the world. In leaving a familiar city where you've lived your entire life and all of your family and support system exists, you find out which pieces of you are yours and yours alone, as the influences of others fade away and you're left to fight your own battles and make your own decisions all alone. You may lose some of these battles, and that's okay. Because then you are given the opportunity to redefine your own identity as you feel that in this brand new place, completely alone, you may be any person that you'd like. Nobody knows you and no one has any expectations of you. You can be a sweet Southern girl from Louisiana or a cool, trendy world traveler. The infinite amount of options first pushed me to paralysis, and that I became very quiet and I couldn't decide. But upon making new friends, real friends who came to love me and appreciate me just for being myself, I found a way to open up and be confident revealing the true elements of my genuine personality. So when I had to travel to other cities and learn to work a new transportation system, I was on my own. When I got lost, I walked very far distances and sometimes at night. I mistakenly wasted a bit of money, and I often felt overwhelmed with confusion and fear. When I fell off my bike 3 times in the first week of buying it because I didn't understand the road and the rules and how it all worked, I had to decide whether I would stay down or keep going. And when I felt most alone and I didn't want to leave my apartment, I missed my home and my family, and I was missing out on important events like my sister's baby shower. I had to find it in myself to be strong and to push forward. I had to learn to be happy in the present moment and stop worrying so much about the future or the past. And it seems to me that the Dutch are excellent in their ability to relax and appreciate the given moment. So I stayed strong and I did push forward. And to my surprise, I fell into a very deep love with my new city and friends. I learned something very special about humanity, that when you're most vulnerable and in need, there are good people who don't know you and who don't owe you anything and will help you anyway. And for that, you will feel eternally grateful. That needing love and friendships is a universal trait, and that unless we cultivate and cherish the most valuable elements of this life, that is love, moments, and relationships, we will be missing out on what is most important. My German friend Cassandra gave me €200 when I lost my wallet. This is in the first week of being in Amsterdam, and she'd only known me for a few days. I walked to her house in the morning because my wallet and my keys were attached to each other, so I was locked out of my apartment. I walked to her house, knocked on her door, and cried, and she Skyped my parents to tell them that everything would be okay and she was going to take care of it. She invited me to her home in Germany when I missed my family at Thanksgiving, and her mom cooked a special Thanksgiving dinner for us, even though Germans don't typically celebrate Thanksgiving at all. And when I told her that I wanted so badly to go to a European football game, she got us tickets to the Europa League finals this past May, where I watched grown men cry when their team lost, and I celebrated with the Chelsea fans over their victory. And the last question I had for her when we were saying our final goodbyes and when I was leaving was whether or not she thought I would be okay leaving my new beloved home in Amsterdam. And her assurance that I would helped me to continue forward with confidence. My Rotary friends, whom I'd never met before this year, helped me to realize that it was normal to miss home, and as Rotary scholars, they challenged me and motivated me to work harder because they are all absolutely brilliant and inspiring, like most of you. All of you. Most of you. We bonded over missing Mexican food and Netflix, but more importantly, over the process of growing accustomed to and falling in love with a new country. But above everything, I think it is important for me to express my gratitude, and this is also something you guys should consider too. First and foremost to my sponsor club of South Shreveport, the Rotary Foundation, and all Rotarians worldwide for making this year possible. Because of the Rotarians that are dedicated to this wonderful organization, I, along with all of the other scholars and RYLA students and youth exchange, all of these kids are having opportunities that most people will never get in their life, and that is the truth. Most people will not get a chance to come to some camp like this. I didn't. It doesn't matter which club I've spoken at or which Rotarians I have encountered. I have never walked away from these events without feeling joyful, supported, and loved. This is the universal trait of the Rotarian. To be genuinely kind, enthusiastic about goodwill, and always willing to go above and beyond to help. This is why it is such an honor for me to be standing here as your camp counselor at RYLA, as the Ambassadorial Scholar, and this is why you guys should feel like this is a big honor. We've been emphasizing the four-way test with you, and I'm not going to repeat it because I know you guys know it by this point. What I am telling you is that these kind of people are the results of this test and this ideology. And if you do apply this ideology to your life, these are the kind of people you will be one day, giving children the opportunity to do this kind of stuff. Before I left, sorry. I also have to briefly mention my parents for being so strong through the turmoil. One of the best moments for me was when my parents came to visit and cooked all my European friends a good, real Louisiana meal. Gumbo, sweet tea, and king cake. And the best of both of my worlds collided. And by the way, the Europeans went crazy for king cake. They had never had it before. They didn't know what it was. And I was surrounded by joy and love in a quality moment that had only recently made it to the top of my newfound value system, but that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Before I left for my year abroad at the outbound orientation for Rotary Scholars, they told us that it wasn't about the place we were going so much as it was about the life lessons we would learn. In my head, I scoffed. Yeah, right, I thought. My experience in Europe will be so much different from those scholars who are going to Asia or Africa. And again, I found myself to be proven wrong and Rotary right. The Dutch are indeed very different than Americans, and even other Europeans, but these differences were not at the core of the fundamental lessons I learned. Still, it is important to know a few things about them. For example, they're very independent and critically thinking. The way I most experienced this is through conversations and my time in school. The education system there is much different than the education system here, and it was sometimes a difficult adjustment to make because they teach numerous perspectives on one issue. Sometimes these perspectives contrast with each other, and that made it difficult at first. The guidelines for assignments were often very vague, which was hard because I wanted the professors to like my work, but I soon came to love the creative freedom this allowed me and began applying the academic theories to my own interests by doing studies on Louisiana Creole, or this is an example of a paper I wrote about Afghanistan. The Dutch are slower paced and they really take the time to enjoy themselves. This first occurred to me when all of my friends in Europe tried to convince me to go to Vondel Park just to hang out. This is a really popular thing for them to do. They tried for a couple of weeks until I finally said, okay, I'm going to come with you guys, but when we get there, what are we going to actually do? They laughed and called me such an American, telling me that it's okay to just relax and appreciate the given moment and not always try so hard to be productive all of the time. It isn't unusual to spend hours in a cafe just drinking coffee or taking a long, leisurely 3-hour, 4-hour dinner without rushing through. This helped me to feel less anxiety about getting to the next place and learn to be content exactly where I already am. It taught me to slow down and soak up everything around me because each moment is unique, as it is the only chance that you have to live in that particular time and space. They are creative and they are joyful. They really appreciate the weather when it's nice, and they love being outside and spending time in parks and gardens. I think this is probably because the winter is so long and cold. Still, every time I traveled through the city, there was some lively event going on in the center, and they plant flowers in every open space they can find. They eat lunch outside, and sometimes will just sit and have a drink at a cafe to watch the city tourists pass by. And these are all really beautiful and special things that I learned about the Dutch while I lived in Amsterdam. But just as Rotary said, it isn't so much about where you will go as much as it is about the life lessons you will learn. So what then are these profound life lessons she learned, you may be wondering? And I have to admit that these lessons are sometimes simple and they're sometimes obvious, but they were very new to me and they very much changed my perspective on the world. I learned what it means to feel exposed and completely vulnerable in a new and foreign city. It's terrifying, but this is a good thing. It means that mistakes are inevitable, life seems really scary, but you are challenging yourself to grow in a new and important way. It means facing a new currency, language, or map, and the work to do even the simplest of tasks, like shopping for groceries or even finding where the grocery store is located. I learned that making new friends from a completely different background seems difficult on the surface until you can laugh with them. Once you understand that we are all human and have the same needs and desires, you quickly feel more comfortable with the people with whom you were initially nervous, and these friendships are crucial and priceless, similar to the friendships you guys have developed this week. I learned that when you live in a tiny bedroom in a new and busy city, it's easy to get lonely, but that time will pass. And it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and enjoy yourself, but that time passes as well. And at the end of everything, what you do have is the lessons you learned and the invaluable relationships you've cultivated. These are the things to appreciate in this life. I learned that in the face of adversity, being innovative will get you a long way. There are always solutions to the issues presented, even if those solutions are not always obvious. You don't know your own strength until it is tested. You don't know if you can carry a suitcase while biking until you try. And you don't know if you can get up and do some of the things you guys did today until you actually do it. I learned what it means to be terrified, but to conquer your fears. Whether it be asking for help at the risk of sounding like a tourist, or speaking in front of a Dutch audience on the importance of authentic moments. Overcoming these fears and challenges is comparable, I think, to reaching the peak of a mountain after a long and exhaustive hike. It's incredible, and it makes you feel stronger than you've ever felt before. I learned that absence truly does make the heart grow fonder, and that identity is very closely linked to the place that you're from. That it's okay to be critical, but it is equally as important to recognize the positive, and that nothing beats Southern hospitality and Louisiana cooking. I learned that when all else fails and everything falls apart, your family is your rock, your support system, and their faith in you can get you a very long way. And finally, I learned to be more humble, more appreciative, and to realize that it is so easy to take things for granted, but that life is quickly passing with many ups and downs. So you better pay attention, because every single moment is a special moment to be thoroughly experienced and felt. Thank you.